Well, good morning, Conference. Glad to see such a magnificent turnout on this fine Monday morning. Our next speaker is a tireless campaigner for Scottish independence. In government, she gives a clear focus for inward investment to grow Scotland's economy. She champions the Gaelic language and made history by becoming the first female MSP to give a plenary speech entirely in Gaelic in the Scottish Parliament. And she's been a fearless champion for her constituents, ensuring that the voice of the Highlands are at the very heart of our SNP government. And while she has announced that she will stand down from elected office next year, I know that she will be a formidable asset to the SNP and will remain a formidable asset to the cause of independence on our journey. Friends, will you please welcome to the podium Scotland's Deputy First Minister, Kate Forbes, MSP.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Angela, and Matin Va. What a turnout on a Monday morning. It is the last day of conference, and what a conference it has been. Here we are in Aberdeen, the great granite city, the energy capital of Europe, the jewel in the crown of our economy. Because the North East has powered our economy for decades. It's developed and exported cutting-edge technology, and it is home to Scotland's brightest and best workers. And billions of pounds of tax revenues generated here have bankrolled the UK Treasury for years. Those tax revenues frittered away on unjust wars and pet projects rather than being invested in future generations. We don't need to ask, what if it had been different? Because a stone's throw away across the North Sea, Norway's oil fund is estimated at just over $2 trillion. Let that sink in. In Norway, child poverty is low. Welfare support is fair. They can weather economic instability. Meanwhile, what's happened here in the energy capital of Europe over the last year under a Labour government? Higher fuel bills for you and for me, cuts to welfare support for disabled people, and months of worry for pensioners in fuel poverty. What a contrast to other small independent nations. Conference, we can't unpick the past, as much as we would like to. But we can write a better future, one that will never tolerate fuel poverty in an energy-rich nation like ours. And we can only do that with independence. Conference, in the last year, Labour have followed the decades-old pattern of exploiting Scotland's energy revenues by extending and increasing the Tories' energy profits levy, making hundreds of workers redundant and creating an unjust transition. In a classic move by this Labour government, they accept the 78% tax rate is costing jobs, but they won't do anything about it for another 5 years. So we call on the Chancellor today, don't wait. Replace the destructive fiscal regime at the next budget with a fair one that protects workers and enables the energy transition. And I know that there are some people right now who are apprehensive about the future. And so I want to speak directly to you. We have your back. we get it, because the SNP will always stand side by side with our workers. Conference, we are a very lucky nation, a twice blessed nation, with the discovery of oil and gas 40 years ago and the enormous potential of renewable energy today. And it's not a binary choice between our past and our future, it's a transition, and it must be a just one. The past saw our energy industry bankroll the UK Treasury, but the SNP will champion fairer investment directly in communities with the growth of renewable energy. The past saw thousands of workers in good, well-paid jobs, but the SNP's focus will see thousands more in our supply chain, reindustrialising, restoring our manufacturing base. Because while other parties look backwards, we look forwards. Conference, that is leadership. We are leading the world in the innovation, technology and commercialisation of renewable energy. That's why it's so bewildering that the UK government would rather focus on the distraction of new nuclear rather than on Scotland's renewables potential. It will take longer, it'll be more expensive, it'll increase bills, and it will leave our communities to deal with dangerous nuclear waste. So, Conference, let us be clear with the Labour government today. Scotland will not be the UK's nuclear playground. Just last week, we saw for the first time global renewable energy generation surpassing coal as the world's biggest source of electricity. And I'm clear that in Scotland, our natural resources, our wind and water, must deliver benefits for every Scottish citizen. It must create good, well-paid jobs for you, so you don't have to worry about feeding your family or heating your home. It must leave a legacy of better infrastructure, so our ports, harbours and roads are upgraded and expanded. And it must deliver national economic prosperity that lifts up every community and eradicates child poverty for good. Many of the opportunities are in the supply chain, in the small and medium-sized Scottish businesses and the ports and the harbours that are at the heart of our communities. That's why we're investing £500 million in the supply chain, leveraging 3 times that much from the private sector. And let me tell you some stories about where that's happening well. In Kishorn, on the Highland West Coast, our investment in the port is bringing families back to a community that felt forgotten. Many of you will recall Kishorn was a thriving industrial site in the 60s and 70s, creating work for hundreds of locals who might otherwise have left. But it grew quiet when work dried up in the 80s. No lights on in hundreds of homes. Fewer children in the local primary schools. Businesses struggling to stay afloat, persistent depopulation, Conference, an unjust transition. But under the SNP, that is all changing, because as we speak this morning, it is a hive of activity as contractors on site reclaim land and build a new key for the pipeline of work in renewables. Hundreds of new jobs, and Conference, that is leadership. And on the East Coast, our investment in Ardasir with partners is developing one of Europe's largest energy facilities for offshore wind. Not just the biggest in Scotland, although that would be impressive, but one of the biggest in Europe. Conference, that is also leadership. And from west to east and now further south in Ayrshire, in an area of lower wages and falling population, XLCC is building the UK's largest subsea cable factory at the former Hunterston site in Ayrshire. But the real benefit here is the investment in training the next generation. The point is, conference, under the SNP, more apprenticeships, better wages, new jobs, hope of a just transition. And conference, that is the leadership you can expect from the SNP. Conference, in 2014, do you remember that we were told that Scotland couldn't afford to be independent? Well, conference, I tell you today that we can't afford not to be independent. And this time, our economic prosperity will not be squandered by a distant UK government. This time, our success will be shared, our wealth will leave nobody behind, and our future will be better than our past. Conference, if only we could see ourselves as the rest of the world sees Scotland, we would have all the self-belief and the self-confidence that we need to choose independence. In the run-up to the next election, every party will set out their strategy on our economy. Times are tough. Your bills keep rising, but average real wages in the UK have flatlined, with almost no change since the financial crisis almost 20 years ago. When it comes to inequality, growth and productivity in the UK, these are not temporary problems, they're terminal. Almost 2 decades of Westminster austerity has undermined living standards. It's hampered productivity and it has stifled innovation. The current UK system displays a persistent level of geographic inequality with an unhealthy and unstable reliance on London. So what's Labour's solution to these terminal problems? Well, Labour's ambition for Scotland is to be more like England, for our national parliament at Holyrood to mirror Westminster, for Edinburgh to emulate London, and Glasgow to replicate Manchester. They claim that is what would deliver economic success. Well, conference, let's just clarify that point. The latest ONS statistics say that GDP per head in Edinburgh is higher than in London, and GDP in Greater Glasgow is higher than in Greater Manchester. So I hate to break it to Labour, but trying to be more like England would actually make Scotland poorer. And when it comes to workers, we also know what Labour will do. The closure of the Grangemouth refinery was a dark day in Scotland's industrial heritage. Only months before then, Anas Sarwar stood in front of a television camera next to our leader and told the nation that his Westminster colleagues would, and I quote, step in and save the jobs. But as soon as Labour got into government, they did neither. Now, maybe Sarwar got mixed up, because Labour did indeed step in and save the jobs, but not at Grangemouth, at Scunthorpe. One site saved and one site abandoned by Labour. In contrast, workers can always depend on the SNP to do everything within our power to save jobs. Back in June, proud Scottish bus manufacturer Alexander Dennis announced a plan which would have discontinued production at Falkirk and suspended production at Larbert. 400 roles were at risk of redundancy. And Scotland faced the prospect of losing our bus manufacturing capacity for good. A century of automotive excellence in central Scotland would have ended. The SNP government would not let that happen. And whilst the Labour Party chased headlines, carped from the sidelines and claimed that Metro mayors would save the day, the SNP got to work. With the support of trade unions and the company, we reached agreement on the principles of a furlough scheme. That was the first time ever that the Scottish Government supported a furlough scheme. It was an innovative, exceptional intervention to act as a bridge to sustainably support hundreds of Scottish jobs. Conference, that is leadership. In a few short months, the people of Scotland will go to the polls to choose their next government. And at that election, we have a choice: to rely on Labour's empty promises that let down the workers of Grangemouth and Alexander Dennis, or to vote for a party, the SNP, who will always stand up for our people, and a First Minister, John Swinney, who stands head and shoulders above the opposition. The choice is stark: empty slogans with Labour or a proud record of delivery with the SNP. Under the SNP, we are the fastest growing start-up nation in Europe, with a strong base of entrepreneurial activity. Tech investment grew by 120% between 2020 and 2024. We built the Scottish National Investment Bank to support and de-risk investment in housing, net zero and innovation. We pioneered the Tech Scaler programme, which I firmly believe will go down as one of the greatest economic interventions in the last decade. We introduced free bus travel for young people, reducing the cost of getting to work, college or university. We removed peak fares on our railways to support workers and get people spending money in our pubs, restaurants, shops and high streets. Our workers, teachers, nurses, police officers have the highest starting salary in the UK, and the Scottish Child Payment, a payment not available anywhere else in the UK, is directly lifting children out of poverty. Conference, that is leadership. So, Conference, I hope I'm giving you the impression that I'm really proud of what this party has delivered for the economy. We are laying the foundations of an independent Scotland. With the limited powers of devolution, the SNP has always tried to deal with the immediacy of our economic challenges, but also focusing on the long-term opportunities for future generations. The Unionists want to limit Scotland's ambitions with a parochial focus on a broken UK economy. Conference, our horizons are so much broader. We look beyond our borders to the small, agile, independent economies like Ireland, Denmark and Finland, countries which thrive while the UK languishes behind. Those nations show us what is possible for Scotland. They are a vision of Scotland's future, while Westminster is a shadow of the past. And Conference, we stand together to say to the people of Scotland, this is not as good as it gets. A better future is possible with the fresh start of independence. And that is exactly what the SNP will offer the people of Scotland. Conference, there is one immediate risk to our ambitions for the economy. And I'll be honest, it really worries me. During my time in government, I've spoken to hundreds, perhaps thousands of businesses, small and large. They're ambitious, they're investing, they're excited to grow. But in order to grow, they need workers, just as the Labour Party tries to out-reform reform and pull up the drawbridge on migration. There has been a political consensus in Scotland for many years about the value of people choosing to come and live, work or study in Scotland. That political consensus has been shattered by Reform, the Tories and Labour. And Conference, for the sake of our values, the sake of our economy, the SNP totally and utterly rejects the depressing, denigrating narrative against migration. we need people to come here, and we need them to contribute to our society, our communities and our economy, and the SNP will always offer a warm welcome, because conference, that is leadership. Conference, I want to end with a thank you. It's been an enormous privilege to represent the people of Skye, Lochaber and Badenoch for almost a decade. It's a vast area, as you know, but so special. Canna, Rum, Muck and Egg, the Ardnamurchan Peninsula, Razzie and Skye, all the villages south and north of Loch Ness, Fort William under the shadow of Ben Nevis, Glencoe and Kinlochleven, Canusie, Aviemore, Dalwhinnie and Newtonmore nestled in the Cairngorms, the marked town of Dingwall and the fertile soil of the Black Isle. The landscapes are breathtaking and the people are resilient, and it has been my privilege, a privilege beyond measure, to serve these communities on behalf of the SNP. And I am deeply proud to have been part of the SNP government as Finance Secretary and Deputy First Minister, securing many of the economic building blocks to smooth our transition to an independent nation. But I'll let you into a secret as I close. My dream job was always to serve as Minister for Gaelic. The language of my forebears, stigmatised and beaten out of them, but passed on to me through Gaelic medium education. And one of my last acts in government has been establishing both Gaelic and Scots as official languages through the Scottish Languages Act. And I think that if anything symbolises our journey as a nation, it is the increasing self-confidence of Gaelic speakers. Young Scots learning and living in a language that used to bring scorn. This week, at the Mod in Fort William, thousands of people will showcase the best of Scotland's arts and culture, music, poetry, sport and art, and the numbers of participants are growing every year. Conference, we have always believed in the talents and the creativity of our people, and after 18 years in government, our young people are prouder than ever of their Scottish culture. We have always believed in the talents and creativity of our people, and that is on display this week in Fort William. We stand tall, proud of what we've achieved and inspired by our future, proud of our languages, our customs, our culture. We don't believe that we're any better than other independent nations, but we do believe that we are just as good. Conference, do you know what I see here today? And do you know what I see in this nation we call home? I see self-confidence. I see self-belief. And I see hope. Thank you, Conference, for always inspiring me. Tap live.
Well, thank you very much for that little pocket-size of 5'2" inspiration that goes a long, long way, and we wish you all every success and happiness in the future, Kate, but we are so relieved that you'll no be a stranger.
Not at all.
So, Conference, we have some resolutions to attend to this morning. And we are on Resolution 21. And can I invite my good friend and colleague, Kevin Stewart, MSP, to move the resolution entitled Scotland's Power. Kevin, come to the stage, please.
Thank you very much, Convener. And